Okay, so this is the continuation on of the solution to number 3. So remember, the equation that we have is 60x minus 16. Sorry, this is 60. Let's erase that. So 60 minus 16x plus x squared times 5 plus x is equal to 270. So we continue expressing this as a polynomial. So 60 times 5, this is 300 minus 16 times 5, that will be 80x, and then x squared times 5 will be 5x squared. And then we multiply everything by x this time, so 60x minus 16x squared and then plus x cubed, and this should be equal to 270. So you have some terms that can be combined, so like the x and the x squared. So we just copy 300 for the meantime. Negative 80 and positive 60 will become negative 20x, and then 5x squared minus 16x squared will become negative 11x squared, then plus x cubed equals 270. So this, as you can see, this will become a polynomial equation. So I'll rewrite this as x cubed minus 11x squared minus 20x plus 300 equals 270, and you can still make this or express this as 300 minus 270, so that the other side will become 0. So x cubed minus 11x squared minus 20x plus 30 is equal to 0. So this is the polynomial equation. Now what we want to find is the value of x. So to find the value of x, so we should use a method in such a way that we can find x that will make the polynomial equal to 0. Okay, and we learned from the class that we can use synthetic division to find the value of that x, but we have to consider some possible numbers, and that will be coming from the values of the p and the q, wherein p are the factors of 30 and q are the factors of this number. Okay, so you can list down all the p. So plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 10, and then plus or minus 15. So I think we have one more, plus or minus 30, and then q is simply 1 plus or minus, and then you use p over q, but since q is just 1, then the p over q will be the same as p. Now it is not practical to consider all the numbers for p over q, because as you can see, you have negative numbers that will not or never be answers, because we're talking about an x which is a length. So you can consider only the 1, the positive 1, the positive 2, and so on up to positive 30. And at the same time, take note that the figure that we want is or has 10 minus x as the length, 6 minus x as the width, and 5 plus x as the height. So obviously x cannot go beyond 10, and it cannot even be at 10, because otherwise this will be 0 or a negative length, so that cannot be for a side. And even smaller for 6 minus x, because you cannot have an x bigger than 6. So this 30, the 15, the 10, this 6 cannot use as options. So you have only 1, 2, 3, and 5 to try. Okay? So how do we find that x? So we apply another synthetic division. So you need to get the coefficients of the polynomial equation. So you have the 1, the negative 11, the negative 20, and the 30. So you might want to try it one by one. So you can use 1 first. If it will work, then you 2. Now just to save time for the video, I'll be using the number that I will know will work. Okay, but in the during the test you really have to try each number. So I'll try 2. I'll try 1, not 2. I will try 1. So 1, bring down 1 for synthetic division, then you multiply, you get 1. Negative 10 times 1 is negative 10. Negative 30 times positive 1 is negative 30. And this will be an answer if the last number is 0. And by the way, just for some notes, be careful just in case next time when one of this x is missing, so say 20x is not there, it's just x cubed minus 11x squared and 30. Don't forget to put a 0 in the place of the x. Okay, otherwise you will not get the correct answer. Okay, so 1 worked already, so that means x can be a 1. Now there can be more than one answer, so you can try this. So note this polynomial expression on the left side can be expressed as x minus 1, minus 1 coming from the 1, and then the other factor contains the coefficients 1, which is in the form of x squared now. So x squared minus 10x minus 30, and then this is equal to 0. So if you can still factor this in such a way that you can get or if this is still factorable, then you factor. Now the factors of 30 is 6 and 5, that's 11 or 1, 3 and 10, that's 13 or 7. So I think we cannot factor this anymore. So the answer can be, or is coming from x minus 1, and that is x equals 1. Okay, so meaning, so for it to be, for the second box to have 9/10 of the volume of the first box, we need to have x equal to be 1. So the answer to this question is x must be equal to 1. Okay, so just apply the proper units. If it says, I think we use centimeters, so this must be 1 centimeter. Okay, so just to wrap it up, so remember we formed this equation on the first video, and then these steps are just part of the procedure in simplifying this expression. And then until you have the x cubed minus 11 x squared minus 20x plus 30, then from there you identify the p's and the q's, the factors of the last number and the factors of the coefficient of x cubed, we call it the leading coefficient, and then you perform the p over q. It just so happened that the q is equal to 1, so p over q will be the same to p. Sometimes the number is for q is not 1, so you really have to divide each p by the q. And then we try each number, so we copy the coefficient of the polynomial and then we try each number. Again, we made some restrictions because some numbers are not practical to be considered in the synthetic division. Like for 10 minus x, you cannot accept more than 10. For 6 minus x, you cannot accept more than 6. So we limited it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when we tried 1, it turned out to be the answer. Okay. Again, for this kind of problem, it can have more than one answer. So you check if the other factor is factorable. If not, then you only consider the x minus 1 factor in this case. Okay, so the answer for number 3 is x equals 1 centimeter. So the dimensions that we need, okay, so if x is equal to 1 centimeter, the dimension of the second box should be 10 minus 1, 9, 6 minus 1, 5. 5 plus 1, 6. So it's 9 centimeters by 5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. So these are the answers to the problem. Okay, so you can write it in a sentence, the dimension of the box. So the dimension of the box should be, or the second box should be 9 centimeter by 5 centimeter by 6 centimeters. Okay, so that's it. So I hope you were able to follow my long solution. It seems like a long solution, but when you do it on your own, it will be based on your pacing. Some of you will be faster, some will be at the normal pacing. Okay, so that's it.